On the phone here in a minute, we got Stephen Meadows. He's an accomplished sales professional. He's got a career of over 14 years, includes managing, training, mentoring sales professionals. He built his entire business around personal relationships. He's a well-known fixture in Middle Tennessee real estate market and has made connections all over the country. He's a passionate networker and believes wholeheartedly in the power of connections, and that's what we're going to talk about. We talk about networking all the time. Sometimes it's your most powerful and sometimes free opportunity and tools for your business to be able to grow your business and grow that foundation and grow that circle. Sometimes it's just somebody to lean on and to bounce ideas off of. But it's not just you leaning on them. Sometimes you're the person that other businesses lean on. So he's online right now. We've got Stephen Meadows. Stephen, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Well, hold on one second. I'm sorry. All right, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, yeah, I can hear you now. Sorry about that. Well, thanks for calling in. We kind of got introduced social media-wise, networking, and one of the people that we network with invited to your book signing. I said, hey, we're always talking about networking. Let's get Stephen on and kind of talk about it. But talk a little about yourself before we get into how you wrote a book, because that's whole process is always fascinating to me, being able, as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, putting thoughts and ideas into words to where it flows from start to end, but also where somebody can pull something out and get something out of it. But before we get to that, tell everybody about you, if you would.
Well, I am actually a resident or a native of Michigan. Don't hold that against me. I tell people all the time, I'm not from the South, but I got here as fast as I could. I moved down here in 2006, basically because the economy was so much better in Tennessee. I had done real estate up there since 2001, selling foreclosures and different things like that. Moved to the Middle Tennessee market, continued selling foreclosures, rode that wave through the height of the foreclosure market, and then I finally decided to change careers a little bit and get out of selling real estate and get into more of a periphery business. So I'm actually celebrating my 2-year anniversary today with American Home Shield, which is the nation's largest home warranty provider. And basically my job is to now network and schmooze all the people I used to work with as a realtor. So it's a pretty good fit for me.
All right, so your book, Meet More, Make More, Turn Your Network into Net Worth. You've got your release, and you got a couple of release parties. It's published by, Cronus Media?
Yes.
And here in Clarksville, in June, next month, you've got your book release, I guess, party you would call it, correct?
Yes. Yep. June 18th at the F&M Bank. Their beautiful Franklin room, penthouse reception room that they have. It'll be the Clarksville release party is the 18th. I do about a quarter of my business in Clarksville, and so this was sort of a way to give back to my agents and friends up in Clarksville and let them join in my celebration. And several of the contributors to my book are actually in the Clarksville market. Lauren Hermes from Coldwell Banker and Ariel Anderson from Keller Williams are actually in my book. They've actually done interviews for me to kind of share how they network and what they've done to build their business.
Well, now, this book, because I've just read a small little excerpt that you have from it. I haven't been able to look at the book yet, but I'm looking forward to it because, I love networking. We talk about it all the time, different tips for businesses, the chamber meetings, any other things that you can volunteer and do around the community so people can put a face and put your character of who you are, because then it's a direct correlation of how you're going to run your business. But talk about networking, and then let's get into that process of the book. What has networking done for you and your business? Well,
in the book, I actually say that networking is the reason I exist. It's literally my parents met because of networking connections that my grandparents had. I'm a big believer. It's in my blood. But from a business standpoint, it's really the personal connection is really more important than any marketing I could ever do. Yes, my company does a great deal of marketing and all that stuff, but that's not why agents use me. Agents come to me for my services because of me, because I'm a resource to them, because I've proven that I'm there to see them be successful. And I think that's really where networking becomes a powerful thing, is when you can take that connection you have with someone and actually turn it into, what can I do for you? It's not about what you can do for me, because hopefully someday you can do something for me. You can send me business or something like that. But I want to know what I can do for you right now. How can I enhance your business? Because by enhancing your business, you're going to remember who I am. I'm not just going to be a face in the crowd. And I think that's the step that a lot of people miss when they network, is not going beyond that initial meet and greet. Hey, nice to meet you. I'm so-and-so. Thanks for your business card. I'll contact you. No, tell me about yourself. What can I do for you? What need do you have that I can fill?
No, very good point. I mean, it's there's an art to it, and it's more about, like you said, it's about opening yourself up and kind of putting the sales portion away. And so many people, they use that networking as an opportunity to do sales, and that's something totally different. Would you agree? I mean, that's not networking. Absolutely,
and that's one of the lessons I had to learn in this job. I was actually feeling guilty because I'm an employee, and I'm going to all these mixers and cocktail hours and things like that, and I was feeling bad because I was just there having a good time meeting people, and I thought, maybe the company expects me to be selling these people, and so I asked some of my team members down in Atlanta, what do I do? And they said, you don't talk business. Like, you don't go to these things, you don't talk about business, you talk about yourself, you talk about them, just get to know them. You're there to have a good time. And that I've done that ever since then, and it has just changed the way my business runs, because people don't feel like I'm selling them. My agents will tell you, I'm not a hard sell. I mean, maybe I would sell more if I twisted a few more arms, but that's not how I want to do my business.
Yeah, it's funny. We have the like all the chambers, it's called Business After Hours. And what's funny is you'll find out that there's not a lot of business involved in it.
Right.
It's just funny, we call it Business After Hours, and there's no business. People look at you crazy if you start talking business. But you get used to it. You get to where, again, you're just sharing that personal side of you, because a lot of times people will do a direct correlation of that's who you are as a business person too. But there's a balance. I mean, you got to watch also that you're not always the one that you're helping everybody. You've got to find that balance to where, not that you expect people to help you, but it's a balancing act. I mean, you don't want to be all the one that's always calling on people. You want to be able for them to call on you, but there's a balancing act to it, isn't there?
Absolutely, and I actually mentioned that in the book. I talk about how doing these things for people it builds up like a bank of goodwill, and it basically creates, I hate to use the word, a debt. But it sort of does. It's like, I'm doing you favors. I'm doing you a solid, and someday I'm going to want to cash in on that.
Well, how do you do that?
I'm going to want to call in that favor, and people should expect that. That's one of those. If you're in the business and you're good at what you do, you just know, or you should know, that's how business works. It's one hand washes the other.
And how do you do that? How do you cash in? And I guess depends on the relationship you have with that business person, but how do you cash in without sounding like okay, I'm cashing in? How do you do that?
Sometimes, I mean, with some people you have to be a little more direct, unfortunately, and you just kind of have to drop little hints like, oh, well, I'm so glad that we had such a successful luncheon last time that I helped you sponsor. And I mean, sometimes you have to drop hints, but I find a lot of times, at least 75% of the time, by simply saying I have a need, maybe not even asking directly, I'll just say, I really need, I'm looking for a sponsor for this, or I really wish I could get an in with this office. I find that the people who I'm loyal to and who are loyal to me, they get it, and they instantly will, well, I know somebody, let me help you. I mean, nothing has been more apparent than doing this launch party, these parties, looking for people to help me put them on, and, getting connections for locations and stuff, just by putting it out there to a friend of mine saying, gee, I wish I could find a really cool place in Clarksville to have this party. Within a day, I had the Franklin Room at F&M Bank booked, which is something that, normally the bank is very, they do it for their own purposes. I'm co-sponsoring it with one of their loan officers because of a connection I had. And so a lot of times I feel like people they just intuitively know that, you know what, I do owe you because you were a big help to me. And then you do reach that point, though, where you should realize, at least when you're there, where you're like, okay, I think I've pretty much exhausted my supply here. I need to move on to someone else.
Well, yeah, I was going to say that. I mean, it's a good point. It's okay to eventually sometimes say no if it feels like that person is, they're always the one that you're helping, but yet when you turn to and say, hey, you're involved in this, can you help me? And they're never available. Is it okay to just say no sometimes in those circumstances?
Absolutely. And there's actually a little section in the book about saying no. And it's there's some things you have to weigh. Is this going to actually get me any business, or am I just doing this to be nice? I mean, there's times where I have to just graciously decline. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not available, or I don't have the resources to commit to that right now. Because there's some requests I get where it's just, I know I'm not going to get any business out of this. And frankly, sometimes the person who's asking me hasn't really earned that. They haven't earned a favor.
Well, I'll tell you what,
I hate to put it in harsh terms like that, but I mean, that's, in the world of business, that's at least how your brain needs to work. Obviously, don't say that to people, but your brain has to keep a balance sheet.
Well, I tell you what, hold that thought right there. We're going to take a quick break. You're going to stick with us, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks for not saying no to us. You're listening to Stephen Meadows, author of Meet More, Make More. We're going to have more when we come back after 2.